Hey everybody, Dave here again, and I've got an update for Dave's Toolbox. Added another component for you guys, and essentially what I've done here, let's just go ahead and play this app so that you can kind of see what's going on here. So I have two lists going on here. One is in SharePoint and one is natively inside of Dataverse. And so the way that this works is that in SharePoint, you can attach files to a SharePoint list, as you know, at the record level. The same thing with Dataverse. Now you kind of have to go out of your way to do it because you have to enable this. And so I want to show you the end result. So basically, I'm going to click this file, and I have a way of seeing all of the records that are associated with this particular record, and I can click on them and I can download them. Now that's like super important to realize. It seems trivial, it seems really stupid, but anyway, I'm now able to use both SharePoint lists and Dataverse lists to present the information to people and download it. And this little widget that you see right here in the center, minus the dimmed background, minus this little X, and minus the container that I put it in, I've simply just have a control for attachments. So to show you this, let's bounce over here to Dataverse, and we'll also come back over here to the waffle. We'll click on, let's see, SharePoint, so we can kind of take you behind the scenes to show you a couple of these things here. And let's start over here at the Dataverse level table, and let's go here to 1-test. This is the table or entity. I'm going to click on properties, and so I want to show you basically a Boolean bit. So this is enable attachments, including notes and files. And so if you enable this, once you enable it and save it, you can never unenable it. It's permanent, and there's nothing you can do about it. So for example, I'll come over here to accounts where it's not enabled, and if I come over here to properties, you'll see, well actually no, I've enabled it there too. Maybe let's try addresses here, properties. And let's go, oh, so unfortunately I can't enable it there, dear Lord. Let's just do it this way. Okay, so we're going to create a new table, and here you go when you create it. So as soon as you toggle that on, that enables this functionality, okay? Now if you're not familiar with the way that this works, when you upload these attachments, they don't actually get stored in the entity that you're creating here. They actually get stored over in another entity called notes. And so if we come over here to all, again, we're still in Dataverse and under tables. I'll come over here and I'll just type in note, and it should bring up the only table called note. And if we look inside of it, there's a bunch of information in here as far as data columns and things of that nature. But what it's doing behind the scenes is it's uploading the file, the data file itself, as well as all of the metadata that's associated with it. And so you can really fill up your Dataverse database very, very quickly, which is personally why I would say I would not ever store data or files inside of Dataverse, because it's probably the most expensive option that you can choose. And I would definitely recommend Azure Blob Storage, because just it's so much easier to deal with, and it's also so much more flexible and cheaper to pay for the storage fees. And so all things considered, at the end of the day, I would use the component that we have in Dave's Toolbox for Azure Blob Storage as opposed to using these methods. Now SharePoint's a little is free, right? So not a big deal there. But I'm going to go ahead and let's look at some of the content over here in my example SharePoint list here. Let's see here. I think I have a list called attachments list. And so inside of here, I just have a regular normal attachments list. But one of the items that you can do with this is, you know, you can set up attachments with. I don't know that it's going to let me show it here. Yep, it will. Good. Oh. I always forget to click that apply. It drives me nuts. Let's see here, attachments, apply. There we go. Okay, so now you see the little paperclip, and you can get to it only when you get into this area And at this point, you can see that I've got the attachments here. And so this is essentially the same type of thing is in the Power App where I've clicked into the record, and then I have this modal box that pops up and you can see it. And so that's how this works in both SharePoint as well as Dataverse. It's essentially a many-to-one. And in SharePoint, honestly, I'm not really quite sure where the files are stored there. But in any event, it is essentially uploading and putting it into the SharePoint library. It may even go into a hidden back-end document library. My SharePoint depth of knowledge isn't as deep as it is on the Power Platform as a whole, but maybe something I'll look into it a little bit later, because now I've got my own self curious. But in any event, the point is you've got a many-to-one relationship, the one being the parent record and the many being the attachments. So let me go ahead and show you Dave's toolbox here. And so I've already gone ahead and shown you in previous videos how to get to it. If you're not familiar, click on this little thing at the bottom called Get More Components, and in Dave's toolbox you just select the tools that you want to bring in, and then they'll show up here in the library components. And then here is the attachment viewer download. So what I'm going to do is just create a new screen so you can kind of see what this looks like on screen. And so here's the new blank screen. We'll come over here to the plus symbol, twirl open the library components, and then here is the actual attachment item. Okay, so the only thing that you have to set here is going to be this attachment items. And so there's a couple different ways for you to do this, and I've got a couple of galleries on the home screen or on the first screen. So let's look at that, because I need to figure out what the name of my galleries are again. So Gallery 1 SharePoint, Gallery 1 Dataverse, and let's show you how to wire this thing up on screen 2 so that you'll see how to do that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do gallery for the attachment items. Let's do, it's going to be probably scoped. Gallery1.dataverse dot selected dot attachments. Okay, so you see how that works? You just basically point it to your gallery, the item that's selected, and then the attachments for that selected item. Now, 9 times out of 10, I'd never do it this way. Essentially what I do, and I'll show you what I did over here on the screen. So let's go ahead and close out this modal dialog. I'm clicking the Alt key in case you're wondering how I'm closing this while I'm still in the editing mode. And what I'm doing is the onSelect function for this paperclip. I'm simply setting up a variable called vSelected, and then I'm saying this item.attachment. And then so what I can do is just reference the vSelected variable. And so I almost never use the gallery selected items, because there's always a way something's going to get screwed up, and context might change very quickly, especially if somebody comes in and does something with one of your apps and got multiple developers on the same thing. You never know, or you can never trust that what is selected or what is going on is going to be that way. So I always reference just the variable. All right, so to do this again, I'm just going to come up here and do VS for vSelected, and you can see it's the same type of things, right? So now I've got the same type of deal. So that's really all you have to set. And as far as what I did on this sample app, this isn't going to be uploaded into the SharePoint, not the SharePoint, into GitHub. I'm not going to be uploading that, but I just wanted to show you how I did it. Essentially, I just have a container on the screen, and I have its visibility property set to something called vToggle. And so I'm just flipping the bit, and I'm showing and hiding the bit as I need to, and I have it all inside of a container that has a background that's partially transparent. And then I have this icon that's just floating over the top of that, over the attachment window. And then here's the Dave's component. Now, if you're wondering where I got this component or where I made it, I've been really frustrated for years that, you can't just come up to the insert menu here and go under, either input or media or whatever and get a simple control to deal with attachments. And because of that, I was like, you know what, the heck with this. But the interesting thing is, and this is actually where I stole it from, so I just want to let you guys know that I'm not some special genius here. I just kind of reverse engineered what was there already, and then I just simply took advantage of that. But it's a lot more convenient to grab it out of a component toolbox than it is to have to deal with this each and every time. So if you pick a form control, right, and I'll just pick edit in this particular example, the first thing we do is we're going to connect it to a list or to a data source. In this case, I'll just pick my SharePoint list. And this trackpad, I hate this trackpad on this laptop. All right, let's see here. I think I say that at just about every video because I'm always clicking just a little too far over to the right, and then I wind up right-clicking as opposed to left-clicking. All right, so we're going to pick the data source. Now with the data source selected, let's just come over here to select the attachments item. And instead of doing 3 columns, let's change it to 1 column. And let's get rid of this created on one. All right. So with that being said, inside of here, I have a data card value 17. And so all I did was take this component data card value 17. I took it out of here. I took it out of the form control. And in the context of how I've got it used, all you have to do here, see where it says items, it says parent.default. We're at the data card level. If you come up here, you can see that the, what is it called? I think it's called data field. Yep. So the data field is essentially attachments. So this is what I'm wiring up to the variable vSelected, or you could wire it up to the gallery selected dot attachments. Works the same way. So if you don't want to use my tool component, but you're watching this video, you can simply just go and do it the way that I just showed you that way. Or you can leave it in the form and then connect it this way. And anyway, there's lots of different ways of doing it. So just want to let you know that even though this is really cool and convenient, I didn't create this at all. I simply just hijacked it out of the forms control, and why Microsoft hasn't made it available up here for all of these years, I have no idea. But if you try to look at how to download a group of files that are attached to either SharePoint or even to Dataverse, it's just crazy because of the values that you actually get through here. You can't do anything with them. Like they're base 64 encoded and some other stuff, and there's a bunch of rigmarole stuff that you have to do to it. But I just didn't feel like dealing with it like that. So in any event, that's why I put it in a toolkit, guys. That's it for this video. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.